Hello, everyone. Once again, it's Kelly here. Today, I have Ainur, who is a violinist and pedagogue and studio owner. And I am so excited for this. We've been working on scheduling this for a while because she just has a wonderfully full schedule. She's got a lot of great things going on. And we are going to be talking today about how Ainur added 18 ideal students to her violin studio in just 6 months. There's a whole lot of other things we're going to cover too. It's going to be great. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So I'm going to jump back for a second to you, Ainur. Can you introduce yourself and your studio and just tell us a little bit about what makes your studio unique?
Well, hello everybody. And first of all, thank you, Kelly, for having me for this interview. I'm really excited to share my experience, and
Yeah.
I'm I hope that it will help musicians out there. So, yes, I teach violin and piano lessons. I started private teaching here when I moved to US 5 years ago. But back in my country, in Kazakhstan, I worked for school and I never did this administrative work.
Right.
And I started teaching here because I went to college, conservatory college. I had to pay for my tuition, and I know how to teach, and that's why I started teaching. Um, when you come to a new country, don't know how things work. The only thing you know how to teach. So that's why
Yeah.
I would just build a studio the way I just kind of like, I teach and people would come to me. Everything worked well at the beginning. And then I realized that I need some more work, learn like administrative work, and just going to like my friends who already own studios or Americans and asking for advice is not helpful for me and for them. So they are giving advice for free. I'm getting advices for free. It's not, I think that's not the way I do. So I really wanted to find somebody who I can work professionally. So this is how I met you. And I really, really appreciate that you and your husband, I forgot his name.
It's
Sorry.
okay, Isaac.
Isaac.
We
No,
won't tell
I
him.
actually I remember his name. I was afraid to pronounce it not correctly.
It
So
does it does look so Nordic. The spelling
yeah.
is funky, so you're totally fine. Don't worry about it.
So it's actually thank you, because nobody teaches you how to build a studio. Nobody. I mean, I've never seen. So thank you for kind of sharing this, because sometimes people don't want to share how to like make
Mhm.
money or get successful. They only they only want to teach you.
Mhm.
But this is really, really helpful for, I think, this world, and I really appreciate that.
Oh my
I
gosh.
listened to my
Thank you.
intuition when I watched your video on Instagram, and I followed you. Yeah, so
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much. I know that means a lot to me. Well, gosh, we were talking right before this about how when you get into the music career, we are supposed to make music kind of for the sake of the music, right? Like
yes,
making money from music is like hush hush. It's very taboo. And at the
yeah,
same time, we're going to school to get a music degree because we want to make a living doing this. So it's
mhm.
a really, really weird like conflict internally that we're having. But it sounds like you've had a lot of growth in that and you've kind of found some confidence in that too. You were talking about this a little bit before. So now that we're recording,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit more about that too.
So because we have this kind of guilt that we are doing music for
Yeah.
music, people, that's why we're poor. Musicians are
Mm,
poor, and we have this kind of people think that musicians are poor, but it's totally your responsibility of saying that I'm gonna make money of this,
yeah.
and I'm gonna teach kids how to like make music and everything. So it's totally your responsibility
Yeah.
to be not poor. I'm not saying that you're going to be rich, but I think it's possible, because we have this like conflict in our mind, and then when we go to college, they never teach us how to attract students or how to build studio. They have like the pedagogic class,
Right.
but now I think that if you spend 25 years of learning an instrument, sometimes you don't even need pedagogic class to teach, because this this field, this instrument, you can teach. Like, there's no doubt about it. But there are students that don't fit.
Mm.
Really, it's not your fault as a professional. It's just not your student. And I feel like it's your responsibility to find the perfect student. But
Mm.
how we find perfect student? By networking, as you said, like, networking with other teachers and churches and everything, like music programs, so that they come and you interview them, and like, I can help this kid. Or you can have 1 month lesson with him and it's not working out, and you are able to say, it's not my fault. I know how to teach. It's just we're not
It doesn't
matching.
click. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why we need to actually, I think we need to work on more how to like, attract those students rather than how to teach them.
Yeah.
Because we really, everybody knows, the moment you're like, you feel like you trust the student, you don't need those books, methods, how to teach. You open up,
Mm.
there's another connection.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you just teach them how to make a decent sound, beautiful, and express yourself, like as a student, like how to
Yeah.
express yourself.
Absolutely.
So
Well,
yeah.
and when you started, when we met this, so just to kind of orient everyone, like in the timeline, right now
Mhm.
it's November. A lot of our work together was from
Mhm.
like end of March to end
March.
of September, kind of early October time. In that 6 month period, one of the big focuses was ideal students because when we first met in March, we had students. You had about 10 to 12 students, I think, at the
Hmm.
time,
Hmm.
and not all of them were a great fit. And that
Hmm.
was a challenge, right?
Yeah.
How did it feel when you were working with those students that, again, like they might be lovely people, but they just weren't quite your people?
Yes. um so before OTB, before this program, I had a lot of I had even more than 12 students.
Mm.
But I thought that I was doing something wrong, but I didn't know how to do it right. So I started just getting rid of students that after the lesson I feel like there's no energy.
Mm.
So I start feeling like the burnout. How do you say it?
Yeah,
Burnout?
yeah.
Yeah, burning out.
Burned.
Yeah, and I didn't feel this is right thing to do. Even though
Mm.
we had lovely relationship with the parents of those kids, I'm really good at building a really good relationship with the kids and the parents. Um, Even though we had, and I thought that, okay, I'm the grown up, I can actually make sacrifices and teach even though I don't enjoy. But
Mm.
that kid, he doesn't deserve this kind of he deserves better teacher
Mm.
who can give him a lot. And and I think that it wasn't actually fair to the student. And when I stopped teaching those students, of course the parents would never get they would think that I just abandoned them or something. But I was like, okay, I don't care if they think, but I really care about the student. I really care, and I want him to get proper education and good teacher that they can match. So sorry, I'm
That's
romanticizing
okay.
everything. So that's why I had like only, like, let's say 10 to 12 students, and I was
Mm.
sitting there and I'm like, what to do next? I just didn't know what to do
We
next.
still have to pay our bills, right? So this is a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
stressful.
exactly. But I did it right thing, by just like stop teaching them. So yeah, and I had 12 students, and I had this goal of getting ideal students,
Mm.
and like teaching more. I needed more. I need more students.
Yeah,
I set up the monthly income and enjoy teaching so that
mm,
I don't burn out at the end of
yeah,
the day. So that was my goal before I met you. Yeah.
that's awesome. And like we said before too, I think it's so important to find that alignment. Yes, because it helps us maintain our energy and feel like we're really clicking with the student and that we're giving our best and that we're enjoying the lesson process. But I just want to highlight again what you're saying about what's right for the student. I think part of this is an ethical
Mhm.
concern that just because we can teach anyone doesn't necessarily mean that teaching anyone is the right fit for both sides.
Both
And
sides.
providing that student with the right teacher who has the right, teaching approach or the right energy or the right
Mhm.
lesson environment and atmosphere, or sometimes it's also just the right personality can
Mhm.
really be a difference in kind of unlocking something for them and making that lesson more engaging or helping to motivate them and get the progress that we're looking for. If the lesson is the same every single week, or if they're not practicing, and if we feel like we're like hitting our head against a wall sometimes, they're
Yeah.
feeling that too. And they might not realize that it's just a match issue. They might start to think like it's their fault, or it's the instrument
Yeah,
that they don't
I
like, or
had
they
that.
just don't
Yeah.
like practicing in general.
Mhm.
And we don't want to take that joy away from a student. I don't know
Mhm.
about you, but I have had those lessons
Yep.
with teachers where I've been the student and it hasn't quite clicked. And I thought it was me.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that maybe
Yeah.
it was just not the right combination of people.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Mm.
That's why in this case I also had those kind of teachers. A
Mm.
lot actually, and
Yeah.
I would take I would think that it was my fault, but now as a teacher, now I understand that it's totally my responsibility.
Mm.
It's like when they say like puppies, they all want to learn. It's just the way you teach them, right?
Yeah.
Uh, they're always there to learn
Yeah.
for that little trait. Same with kids.
Yeah.
When they show up in your classroom, the only thing they really want it's absorb. They only learn this life because they're that kind of age. They're
Yeah.
soaking everything. That's their
Mm.
natural stage. They really want to learn. But if it's there's no click, there's no click. So
Yeah.
and I really liked when you said that networking with other private teachers, it's really important because I can give that student to that private
Mm.
another private teacher. That would be better for the universe, like for
Yeah.
environment, rather than
Yeah.
keeping that student. Because in the future that teacher might give the student she thinks we are matched, more matched. So I would rather do that. I would rather not have students, but do the right thing. So that's why, like when you said networking, that clicked really when I
I love
watched your
that.
videos. Yeah.
Oh, I love that so much. And that's a lot of how you've built your studio, is really getting out in the community. So I want to talk about
Yeah.
that a little bit too. Obviously, like you said, we met through Instagram and I remember in our first conversation, we were having this conversation about ideal students, and you had a pretty clear vision of who was a good fit for you.
Mhm.
I think that's changed even a little bit in the last few months as we've started to find those students too. But I want to talk about the process of what it looked like to get those students. So we've talked about the networking with teachers, building relationships with their studio so we can refer back and forth. How else did you go about finding students in the last
Friends.
few months, and what's been working well for you?
Um, well, setting up this consultation that
Mm,
you offer, like the script you offer in the program, because with the parent, I talk about goals a lot.
mm,
I still have students that are not my like my ideal student is who the student who wants to play professional
mhm.
violin in the future, or like play in orchestras. I still have students that are not going to be professional, but I really enjoy teaching them because
Yeah.
they give me something back. So I think I have this like a little conflict of my ideal student and then the student I really enjoy teaching, because um, not everybody realize at at age of 7 that they are going to do it professionally, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that's why for now I'm just doing all my best to make that kid fall in love with music,
Mm.
and maybe in the future he'll say like, yes, I'm going to Harvard, but I'm gonna do like minor or how do you call that, I'm
Yeah,
in
yeah,
their orchestra. And I would be like, okay, this I gave something to the student.
yeah.
But sometimes, but I thought like I would only teach professional students, so I changed it. I changed it. My this kind of ideal student,
Mm,
um and then yeah, and then parents trust also important for me, because when I have the consultation, I pretty much already know how they are going to treat me. Some of them they're like, teacher, you are the professor, and we will go like with all of you, but whatever you say, we're not gonna. And I got students that are, we're not gonna like save money on not buying a good violin, we're
mm,
gonna invest, we're investing, please tell us, just tell us what to do. And so that's why I really enjoy teaching those kind of students.
Oh, I
But
love that.
but I I I did the work,
Yeah.
a lot of work. So I
Yes, you
said,
did.
like I said, this 6 months I'm doing this work to attract this because it's my responsibility. They're not just gonna come.
Mm,
So so that's why I even stopped practicing violin myself, and I was doing like what I was following your directions. I
mm,
trusted you. So I think I treated you the same way I wanted to treat, I wanted my students to treat me. So
mm.
I
Oh
trusted
gosh,
you.
that
I
makes a
did
lot of sense.
everything. Sometimes it was a lot of work because I never got used to do administrative work in my life, and especially
Yeah.
in the US. Like, you know,
Yeah.
even answering emails for me is like I have to force myself. But with you, your program is so structured, like so structured. It's like
Mm.
you have science everywhere. You cannot get lost. So I really appreciate that.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you again. And I think what's so impressive about the work that you've done is, and I want to clarify, she is practicing again. She's practicing
Yeah,
now. Got a
I'm
lot
back.
of gigs coming up with the holidays, so it's been a little busy. But I think the focus that we put in is a big part of this. It is a lot of work.
Yeah.
Sometimes we look at it like, okay, I'm a fabulous violin player. I
Mhm.
have the education. And something I just want to point out really quickly, because I think it's so important and commendable. Earlier, you said, I am good at, and you said it a couple times, like, I'm good at building a relationship with the
Yeah.
parent, the student. I'm good at these things. I'm good at violin. I'm good at teaching. I have these skills and this knowledge. As musicians, we have spent our entire life sometimes, or at least the vast majority of our life, decades of our life, building and honing this craft. Just because we have those skills does not mean that people are just going to come out of the woodwork and find us. And we
Mhm.
have to put ourselves out there, sometimes in slightly uncomfortable positions,
Oh yeah.
to market ourselves and to allow people to know that we exist and that we have those skills and we have that confidence in our
Mhm.
skills. And also, just because we have the confidence doesn't mean that every day we feel confident, right? There
Yeah.
are times where you go into a lesson or you leave a lesson, you're like, did I do the
Yeah.
right thing? Or like, gosh, I
Totally.
really need to think about this before the next lesson and make sure I've got some other ideas going on for the student. But having that baseline level of confidence, like, no, I do know what I'm doing, and I know that I'm a good teacher, I know that I'm offering a quality service. Now it's just time for me to represent that more publicly so people can find me. So we did some things that were uncomfortable, right?
Yep.
Some of that is like some of the written communication. We worked a lot on
Yep.
that. Some of that is reaching out
I'm
to the other
hearing a lot
private
of no.
teachers. Yeah, yes, we get a lot of no's, or even not right now's.
Not right now.
We send a lot of messages, obviously, to private studios, to school teachers. You mentioned church music programs. We made you omnipresent, was kind of the goal, right? And you did so much work on that, and doing that outreach and putting yourself in positions where you could meet people for the first time and you could network and you
Mhm.
could show them what you're capable of, even if sending that email made us a little nervous, or even if going into that
Yes.
meeting made us a little nervous,
Yes. Yes.
right?
But actually, because I know that I'm gonna do, like, you know, we had to find 50 Facebook groups or 100 schools.
Yeah.
You kind of understand that not everybody's going to say yes, and
Exactly.
and because I got so no's, I built this immune system, or how you call it,
Yeah, like
to
a
like,
tolerance for it almost.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't care now anymore. But my first knows, like when I only reach out,
Mm.
let's say for 3 people, like, can you help me with something? And when they say no, it's like, oh my God,
The world
I'm
is
not good
ending. Yeah.
enough and stuff
Oh,
like that. And, you know,
yes.
there's a lot of stuff. But getting a lot of no's, for me is like, okay, even when student, like, they come to consultation and everything is going well, and at the end they say no, I know that there are 100 students that are gonna come in the future. But
Yeah.
before doing that kind of work, every no for me was like, oh,
It was
heart attack.
it felt personal.
Yeah, it
It
felt
felt
personal.
personal.
No,
Yeah.
it's just not personal because because I knew I was doing that work. I reached 100 schools, and it's
Mm,
not possible to get all the yes. It's not possible. So that's why I just don't want to spend this energy
yeah.
of, like, you know, having no and being like sad about it. I just don't have time and energy for that.
Yeah. I totally
It's
agree.
not
And I think
personal.
what's so important about this too is as musicians, we have sort of separated out our music from our personal selves. It's not always possible, of course, but when you go into a lesson or if you go into a master class and they give you feedback on your playing, I
Yeah.
know they're not mad at me. They're not saying I'm a bad musician. They're just giving me feedback so that I can improve and grow. Okay. When it comes to our business, though, or our teaching or our studio, sometimes we haven't quite built that mindset yet. So when
Mhm.
someone does say no, or if a student wants to stop lessons, you're right. It does feel so personal.
Yeah.
Like, oh my, it's a reflection of me. They don't like me. It's something that I did. And that's not always the case, as you've been saying. Business is business. And your
Mhm.
clients are part of that business. Your students are part of that business. They're not necessarily giving you feedback or saying no because, like, they don't like your personality, that like your teaching, they don't think you're qualified, any of that. Sometimes it's the price is out of their budget, and you know that you deserve the price that you're
Yeah.
charging, which is a premium because you are highly educated and you have a lot of experience and credentials.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's that they found another teacher that it does just click and it's a little
Mhm.
bit more aligned. Sometimes they find a teacher that's going to come to them for lessons and that's more convenient and they'd rather do that instead. Whatever the reasoning is, we're not always privy to that information and that's okay. It's business. It's not necessarily a reflection of you. Of
Mhm.
course, if someone tells you the reason we're not moving forward is because you were rude to us, then it gets a little bit different. But for the most part, business is business. And when you create that professional environment, now you have parents who respect you in the way that you have built right now, which is amazing.
It's and then I just wanted to add that when I started taking your course, the program, I had the best student in my studio, the
Mm,
best, and he would go in competitions and everything. I would never think that that student will stop taking lessons,
yeah.
but this happened, and for me,
Mm.
it was like, oh my God, I
I
never
remember that.
expected,
Yeah.
yeah, and I was so stressed about it.
Mm,
But I sit down and I said, this happened. Okay, I'm not blaming myself, but I'm taking 100% responsibility for what happened. And next time I won't let that happen. Okay, I lost that student, but it's not students or parents. Of course, I could say like it's parents' fault because she
mm,
didn't notify me, and then we never had this conversation. I didn't know their goals and stuff like that. So that's why I was like, next time, the first thing I ask, it's gold because I didn't like I didn't think they were gonna prepare for competitions or stuff
yeah.
like that. So anyway, so even though yes, those things happen, and we're not taking it personally, but we have to take responsibility for that. But
Yeah.
not like I'm guilty. That's my fault. No,
Right.
why did
Yeah.
this happen? Next time I won't let that happen.
Yeah.
So
Just like
it,
a master class, we can improve. We can
yeah,
take feedback. We can improve. We're good at that as musicians. We are so good at that.
yeah, totally. And I learned a lot of things from you, like, after each lesson, writing homework down for them.
Mm,
So that if something happens in the future, I always have this, like, I gave all the instructions all the time.
yeah.
So before I would just tell them what to do and expect them to write down, but they
Mm.
wouldn't write down. But I would just tell them like, work on this, on that, and this. But now I'm like, no, I got this model from you, writing down with direction, how many times repeat, how many times you
Mm,
take break, and then back to repeat everything. So I do that right now because I had that crisis.
mm.
So it
And it's
helped
something
me.
something I think you're doing in the lessons too, right? Like you're not
Yeah,
doing this outside of lessons and like spending hours and hours on this work.
I tried to do it
During
at
the lesson, you are like,
the hmm
we're
yeah,
going to
yeah,
do this. And then we write
mhm,
it in the notes really quick
yeah,
and we make sure it's
I tried to,
happening in real time so we don't forget. And it's
yeah,
happening during the time that they've paid for. So it's really organized and structured. And also almost right after their lesson, they get home and they've got that notification, they've got that email and they know what they're working on. It's
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
helpful.
totally,
Oh, I
totally,
love that. We've
yeah,
talked a lot about how your business has improved. And just as a quick recap on the numbers, because I know that's something people ask about a lot, and we've got really exciting numbers. So we mentioned in the beginning, we've added 18 new students
yeah,
to the studio. Right now, I think we said that's about $7,500 a month now in
yes,
revenue, right? Which is
yeah,
more than double what we were doing
yeah,
before. So
because it
we
was
did
like
not,
3,200
yeah,
when I started.
yeah. So we've
Yeah,
seen a lot of great growth, which is really exciting. And we're still trending in that direction. We're not quite done yet, but it's really exciting. So over $4,000 a month in new revenue, 18 new students. And we're teaching, we said about like 22 to 25 hours per week, depending on
yeah,
the week. We have students, obviously, because a lot of your students are quite competitive, they do add lessons on. So
yeah,
sometimes you have a more full schedule because they're paying for additional lessons too, which is
yeah.
great.
They do. Yeah.
Awesome. I
Yeah.
know, like I said, we talked a lot about how the business has improved. Tell me about how this has impacted your personal life and your performance and your practice. Having the stability of the studio, what does that mean to you now?
So, as you remember when we had our first interview, I was living in the house for free back in my college years. Because I came from, Kazakhstan, there was a family who supported me, so I lived there for free for 5 years, and it was time to, start my own life
Mm,
here. It's scary, especially when you're an immigrant, and you don't want to get out of that comfort zone where you didn't have to pay for your rent. But I needed to grow, like everywhere, like personally and everything. So that's why I was working on my studio so that I can afford basic needs. And I think that we all have right to make money to afford our basic needs and be able to save and invest money. That's not, I mean, I'm not gonna even like, feel guilty about it.
mm-mm. You
And
shouldn't. Absolutely not.
I want to speak about it for other musicians that I'm there for them, and I will always support any musician who is now having thoughts of like, should I do it for free, or like take less money or something. No, you deserve to make money. So I was able to move out and find a place where I can live alone. So this is important for me, not to share with like, roommates, because I'm grown up and I need my personal space to work, come to the house where I have energy to like, recharge. That's just very important. So that part of life improved really, and I'm able to like, save money and like live like a grown up, basically in a new country. It's not like I'm in my country. I'm in another country where I didn't grow up, and I don't know how to like, the structure works. So that's a big achievement for me. So I'm really proud of myself. And another thing is, I have other my personal goals as a performer, and I have a goal of being in a really good professional orchestra. So I know that it's very competitive, and there are a lot of work to work on, and part of it is to take lessons from like, concert masters of those orchestras. And I never people say like, oh, they charge $500 or they charge $300. I never judge anybody charge, even if it's $1,000. It's their will. They can do anything. I wanted to afford those lessons. When I
Mm,
first time came to US, I knew this how it works a little bit, that you take lessons from those people, and I was like, one day I really want to afford those lessons. So yeah, I moved out and now I live alone, and it happened that I found I think my teacher for the first
mm,
time in my life. I really enjoy working with her. I only had this kind of teacher when I was 5.
mm,
That my first teacher was just like that, and then I had a lot of like not matching teachers.
mm,
But anyway, so I love working with her, and I can afford those lessons, and I can invest more in me, in my professional growth. That part really helped with like, with your program, with your course, because everything is so structured here and well organized in my studio. And then I can spend my mornings of practicing, preparing for auditions, going to the lesson, affording be able to afford those lessons. And then in the afternoon I teach. And teaching, it's not from yes, I make my livings, yeah, from that, but it's really important for me to share my knowledges. I
mm,
can't just be selfish and just play. For me, it's maybe we have this, how you call it, mother instinct.
mm.
I feel like I kind of treat my students as my kids, but in professional way. I'm teaching them how to be musicians, and that's important for me. I need to do that. I want to do that. So I'm trying to do both.
Ugh. You're making
Yeah.
me emotional. I know. I'm so
So
proud
I'm
of you too. You should
romanticizing
be so
everything.
proud of yourself. No, it makes me so happy
Oh,
to hear when you said that you're proud of yourself because you've put so much work and you've come so
yeah.
far. You've come so far from that first conversation. It's only been 8 months since our first
Yeah.
conversation. That is like mind boggling to me that so much has changed in your life in that period. And it changed like, and I appreciate that you're, like shouting up the program and saying a lot of that helped you, but also it's the work that you did.
Hmm.
It's the energy that you put in, the care that you put in, and that passion that you have for your students. They feel it. That's
Yeah.
why they'll listen to you. That's why they'll do what you say because that energy match is also there.
Yeah.
And I think
Well,
that's just so
I feel that.
important. It's so important. I've always felt like in our working relationship too. I think that's part of how that growth has happened is we dedicated the time and the energy, and you
Hmm.
came in kind of with that student mindset and asked questions and were engaged, and
Yeah.
that helps so much, as you've said, with your students too, is kind
Yeah.
of having that balance and that open communication makes a really big difference. It
And
does.
that, yeah, I wanted to add, you said that I did the work. It's for people who is watching right now, for who are watching right now, and I really want to say that there are a lot of information in that course, a lot.
Mm,
It's just your results depend on how much you we will be able to absorb and use. I feel like I could even do more, but I didn't have like goal of getting a lot of students, like 30, 40. But if you have that goal, you will be able to do this like
mm,
easily. But it's just following the instructions, and they're interesting, but it's a lot of work, I should say. And you will get a result, but it depends on you. Yeah,
yeah.
how much you will take from the course, because there are a lot of informations. Really good. Really
Thank you so
helpful
much.
and useful. Yeah, so this is
Thank
what I
you.
wanted to add on. Like, I worked, yes, I did the work, but it's not going to happen because you, like, you
Mm,
bought the course and you paid that much money, and it has to happen by itself. No, it's not going to happen.
mm.
You have to get the work done.
Thank you. And I
Yeah.
appreciate you being honest about how much work it is because I think that's something I really want people to be prepared for. We are building a business, right? If we were starting any other business and it wasn't a studio, sometimes I think we like, oh, I just teach on the side, or like, oh, it's just my studio, and we kind of minimize it, and therefore the work
Mhm,
doesn't feel like it's going
mhm.
to be as much. So I really appreciate you being honest about that because it does take a lot of time and energy for
But
sure.
you made it. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but you made it. It's easy to follow, because even with affirmations, that's
Mm,
when you do the work, you start with affirmations, because writing all this email, sometimes I'm like, why am I doing this? They're
mm,
gonna say no, but I go through affirmations before I start working, and you have those, like, affirmations where, like, it's okay to, I don't remember those, but I remember that I just don't need them anymore because I don't have those, like, fear and everything. Um, so it helped me a lot. So if it just do what she says, and everything's going to be okay, and a little patient. Yeah. Even
oh,
with,
thank you.
there's the section with the finance, the money, like, mindset, also helped a lot.
Mm.
Yeah, so it's just follow the instructions.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. You've been so
Oh, it's
complimentary, and it really does mean a lot to me. So thank you for saying all that and sharing your
you
experience.
deserve all the attention.
Thank you. Oh my
It's
God.
a lot of work too
Oh,
from your end.
thank you. Well,
Yeah.
I think maybe at this point, as we kind of wrap up the conversation to tie a little bow on it, if
Hmm.
someone was listening to this right now and they're in a position that we were in March, that they're trying to decide if they want to grow the studio, they're maybe trying to decide if outside the box is a good fit, but really they're trying to figure out too, like, should I even pursue this? Is this something that I am capable of? What is a piece of advice that you wish you could give Ainur 8 months ago to kick it off and see the growth? What would you want them to hear right now?
So, as I said before, that we all know how to teach, and we have to just learn how to do the administrative work. That's why I would suggest getting more information about how to attract and network, and with people, and um, and be patient because it will come. It's just it takes time to be able to attract students that you really enjoy teaching, and then to be able to have more and more students. Yeah, I think that's my that would be my advice. Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm
Well,
really bad at giving advice because I have this philosophy that the best advice is yours. Like
mm,
whenever I start advising something, I'm talking to myself more. so, but I'm really bad at giving advice.
no, I think that was so helpful. And you've already given a lot in this interview. I think there's so
It's-
much information here that's going to be helpful for people. So, again,
my
thank
God.
you for sharing all of that and for being an open book, so to speak, and sharing your process and your journey because it has been, we've talked about the work, but it's been remarkable. It really has. You've really achieved so much. And as I said before, you should be proud of yourself. I'm
Oh,
proud of you. There's been so many incredible things that you achieved in the last 6 to 8 months, and a lot more wonderful things coming too.
oh,
Congratulations.
thank you so much. It was
Of course.
so nice working with you. Like in
Thank
general,
you.
all the support we have, and you would be there like 24 hours all the time. The moment I had questions, because really, really for me, it's hard because I didn't grow up here. The
Mhm.
structure, I sometimes don't get the structure, and I really need guidance. So I, I really appreciate that I followed my intuition because, when you watch Instagram videos, you sometimes don't take it seriously.
Mm,
But my attention went there. I was like, she's telling something that I really it's resonating.
mm.
So I really appreciate that I just booked the initial listen, or what was that?
Oh,
Yeah,
strategy session. Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
that
Th-
section and
Honestly, lesson's a good word for it. Strategy.
yes.
Your studio lesson. That's a
Uh,
good name for it. I'm gonna have to talk to Isaac about that one.
okay. So yeah, so I really appreciate you did
Oh,
this work with Isaac. It's a lot of work. It's really it made to be able to make it for everybody, not to
mm,
just like come to the university and teach, but everybody can have access to that. Now we need to go like international. I'm kidding. No, you really know how it works
oh,
here
thank
in the
you.
United States, and it's this kind of skill you will never lose. Wherever you are, you will be able to make money and be independent. It's gonna stay with you forever because
Yes,
kids are keep like having lessons, wanting to have lessons, and like we always have kids around. That's
absolutely.
yeah. So
Absolutely. I
thank you so
totally
much.
agree. Oh, thank you. This has been wonderful. I'm excited to share this with everyone. So thank you again for
Oh,
all
I
of your
think it
energy,
will be
Ainur.
helpful for other musicians
I
out there.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree. Thank
Thank you so
you.
much. All right. Have a good day.
You
Have a great
too.
day. Bye bye.